The Chicago Bulls may be 6-10, but Zach LaVine has been playing really good ball. And that just begs the question. Is Zach LaVine still going to be a Chicago Bull at the end of the season, or is he just auditioning for his next role? Let's talk about it. Listen, if you're new to the channel, it's your boy P Kid. This is the Chicago Bulls Breeze, talking all things Chicago Bulls. I will get into the topic, but first, gotta listen to the intro, baby. Listen, again, if you're new to the channel, this is the Chicago Bulls Breeze. It's your boy P Kid, giving you all things Chicago Bulls. Now, do me a favor because YouTube's been playing us. I need you to do me a favor and like. I need you to share. I need you to subscribe. Heck, leave the review. Get in tune. Y'all know what to do. So I can continue to give you this hot Chicago Bulls news. Let's talk about Zach LaVine real quick because despite the noise, I've been consistent and I've been a big Zach LaVine fan. I did see and I do see the opportunity and the potential for him, even now at 29, to still reach that pinnacle of being a premier point guard, shooting guard, two guard in this league that can help a team get over the hump and into the NBA Finals. I do believe he has that level of skill. I do believe he has that level of talent. And there's not many people who can actually turn it up and light it up like he can when he's on. The problem with everything is it's just the Bulls. Enough said. It's just been the Bulls. No one can sit here and say that Zach LaVine has had it easy with the Chicago Bulls leading up into it. We've never really had top tier talent, and we finally did. We were injury stricken. He was injured at times, and it just didn't go well. And there's a lot of hate that's come from these situations. When you get paid $215 million, one of the highest contracts in Chicago Bulls history, there are a lot of expectations. And for many people, Zach LaVine didn't live up to it. And all of that noise, Zach LaVine is heard. In a recent interview, he actually addressed not only that, he addressed DeMar DeRozan. He addressed a lot of different things that actually happened over in his tenure here as a Chicago Bull. And I found it interesting that despite all of that, he still came back and showed up. He still was out there actually playing some of the best complimentary ball I've seen him play since being here. And it's really just a stark contrast to everything else that surrounded him. While many people will say he's not a good passer, especially last game, 6 assists is kind of a lot for someone you expect to just score. A lot of people say he doesn't shoot the three ball well. He's shooting at a 43% clip. Some people say he's just a streaky shooter. Is not really effective from the field. He's shooting over 50% from the field. He's having a good season so far. And at 22 points, you can't sit there and say that he's not sharing the love. He's out there gunning because it's respectable numbers with respectable statistics behind it. He's playing efficient ball. Can't hate on it. In fact, his stats in the last game pretty much showed you 27 points, 5 and 6. 50% from the field, more than 50% from the field. Man's been cooking. But does it translate to wins is what most people would say. And he's heard that too. I would want to remind people that basketball is still a team sport. Great players who had subpar talent didn't win. You see this jersey that's illustrated here? Let me see if I can get the point right. This jersey illustrated here, yeah, that guy, guess what? He made the playoffs every season he was in a Bulls jersey. Yet one of those seasons he made the playoffs while being under 500. Something Zach LaVine ain't got the luxury of doing. Can't do it. It's not going to happen. The league is a little different. So I want people to understand that you could be a top tier talent on a really bad team, and you could look like a decent talent on a really bad team, and no one's going to sit there and give you the benefit of the doubt. That's just kind of what happens. And when they pay you $215 million, guess what? They expect you to look like this guy right here, who was a once-in-a-generational player. Like, literally, he was so good, he gets compared to players 30 years later. Like, let's be for real. That's not going to happen every time. That's not really what this is about. But at the end of the day, this video is about is Zach LaVine going to be here? And this is where the rubber meets the road for me. Because despite the fact that he's playing some of the best ball here, despite the fact that he's actually shooting really efficient, no one really. We all know that this is all an audition for his next team. And to be honest with you, I don't fault him. I don't fault Zach LaVine for wanting out because the moment he got that contract, the media turned and it became more about what he can't do and not the situation. It became more about why we aren't getting X, Y, Z, and not really looking at the totality of the situations. Now, if you don't know, if it isn't clear, and I know I've already stated it, I am a Zach LaVine fan, but I do want to call out some of the things that I found very interesting. See, Zach LaVine, before he got paid, was, in many people's opinion, a top tier talent that was underrated, top tier talent that was undervalued. He was all these complimentary things. But the moment he got paid, now he's not worth it. Now he's not this. Same Zach LaVine, giving you the same stuff. What I mean by that is the Zach LaVine, when he got paid, was shooting around 37%. Now, 43 is a different story, and it's better. Don't get me wrong. I mean, even last year was a wash. We're not gonna talk about last year. We're talking about around the time he got paid. I mean, he's been shooting between 38 to 41% pretty much consistently outside of the last season in which he spent most of the time on the bench. So when did he not get worth it? When was he not a good 3-point shooter? When was he not efficient from the field? I also want to remind people that from 2020 up until now, he's only had one season where he was below 40, at least 47% from the field as far as field goal efficiency, field goal percentage. It's a pretty good clip. It's a pretty good clip for a guy that takes a lot of jump shots. So when was he not worth it? That all changed when the numbers hit. When people saw that number hit that screen, despite that people in his same skill set, you could say same grouping, was making nearly 20 million more. You can't tell me that Bradley Beal's worth that contract he's getting paid now. You can't tell me that Jaylen Brown is worth $100 million more than Zach LaVine. Yeah, you can sit there and say, well, it's championship, this, that, and the other. Look at that team around them. That's a much better team than Chicago Bulls has ever had recently. Like, be for real. Let's be real honest about it. So with all that there and the fanfare and the hate still being there, the inconsistent play with some of his teammates, I can see exactly why this would be a rental for Chicago or a rental for Zach LaVine. He has to go out there. He has to wipe off the stench from last season. He has to put out good tape. And for me, this goes to show me that while we're getting some of the best ball, this is all about doing what's necessary so he can sit here and get the heck up out of Chicago. Now, is it right? No. Is this the type of video you expect on this channel? I'm not sure. It's not complimentary of the Bulls, but I'll be honest with you. Is it fair? Is it real? Yep. It's real enough to let you all know that, hey, the moment that players get paid here, we have a different expectation of them. And we should. But we also don't consider that people who typically get paid end up getting a lot of support around them. And in this case, they really didn't. This head coach here, they ain't really it. AK still can't draft for some odd reason. We may finally have gotten somebody, and guess what? Montez is still on the back of the bench getting buried. You know, when we have clear talent, we don't play them. The people that we drafted way too high, we play them too much. There's a lot going on here. Doesn't bode well for someone is about to enter his 30s, wants to actually still make a name for himself, has the potential to actually do so, and has a fan base that's so tired of this episode that they just rather be done with it. So to answer the question directly, yeah, he's gonna be on his way out of here. And yeah, we should prepare for that one. Because no matter what happens right now, Zach LaVine can go off for 40 a night for the rest of the season. Nobody wanted him last year, but seeing the ball he's playing this year, absolutely. Absolutely someone's going to pick him up. And there's a lot of teams that are still wanting to do so. There's a lot of teams still rumored to want to pick him up. There's a lot of teams still rumored to be in the hunt for someone of his talent. And considering how things are shaping up around the league, where you have people who are getting injured, people who are not playing or producing the way that they thought they were, we have the whole look at how the Philly situation is going. You get Joel Embiid over there, and all of a sudden that team is still falling apart. Who knows what's happening over there? So this goes to show you that, hey, sometimes it's just about timing. Last year, no one needed a Zach LaVine. This year, there's a lot of teams that need a Zach LaVine. There's a lot of teams that need to make a move. There's a lot of teams that need that help. If you're the Lakers, you need somebody of his skill set. Yeah, you all are kind of cooking right now, but you know what? I'm willing to bet that with a better coach, and I do believe that JJ right now can connect and speak to this era of player better than Billy Donovan. I'm not going to sit there and besmirch Billy Donovan's entire coaching career because JJ is a newer coach and it does take time. But so far, the start that he's on, and also having one of the best players that have ever played the game, he looks like a legit coach. That coach, that team, guess what? I can pretty much bet that they need a Zach LaVine over there. And so we should sit there and prepare for that. We should prepare ourselves as fans to be in a situation where we don't have a definitive star or someone even close for the foreseeable future, because that's just how AK has ran this situation. So while this is a Zach LaVine video, while this is a video to sit there and talk about how that we could absolutely see him move on and no longer be a Chicago Bull, it is still very much an indictment on what the situation that the GM, AK, and Billy Donovan have put us in as fans. We deserve better. And some of the players want better for themselves. So I don't fault Zach LaVine for wanting out. I don't fault him for trying to sit there and get his stock up. And how do I know? How do we know that this is really what it is? Clutch Sports. You saw Clutch come across that screen. You saw Rich Paul come across that screen. You know it was a matter of time before this particular client, especially because he already got the bag, was going to be out of here. Because that's the MO. That's typically what happens. And it typically seems to happen around the star of that particular organization, not Rich Paul, which is LeBron James. We know how that works. No one wants to say it, then I say it. I know we all think it. We all talk about it behind the scenes. Guess what? It is what it is. We know that if LeBron is ever in a situation where he needs help, them phones is ringing and they going to get that man some help. And I don't fault him for it. Do what you need to do. Use your leverage the way you need to leverage. He's absolutely earned that right for what he's done for the league. And Zach LaVine's probably going to be one of those pieces that get moved, because that's what happens when you're a part of Clutch Sports. It just is what it is. But that's just my thoughts, though. I want to hear yours. I want to hear whether or not you think that he is here for the long haul. I don't think so. I think this is one of those situations where, again, you need to sit there and clean up the stench from last season. You need to right the ship from that aspect. And you need to absolutely make sure that you have clean tape out there so no one can sit there and say, well, no, he's not a willing passer. Well, no, he's not this. Well, no, he's not that. He's heard. He said it. I heard it. He takes accountability for some of it. He's going out there with a chip on the shoulder. He's going out there with a chip to prove that he is not the player that people say he is. And he's looking good doing it. And when that tends to happen, guess what? That means that we may be in a situation where we are divesting of assets. We're breaking down to build up. And that could be the best thing for the Chicago Bulls. I'm just really not happy with it. I'm not happy that we've gotten it wrong again. Just like the Bears tend to get it wrong again. We have to get out of this cycle of suck. It is ridiculous. But I want to hear your thoughts. Whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the chat. I'll be in there with you. Till next time. Peace.